So I heard you grew up in Cleghorn, is that right?
No.
No,
yes,
you didn't.
you grew up in Cleghorn.
No.
Where did you grow up then?
Oh, I'm sorry. See, I didn't hear that.
It's very
I
happy.
grew up in Cleghorn, yes.
Okay. And when did you leave Fitchburg?
In 1942.
And that was to go
and I
into...
came to Leominster because I got married and I came to Leominster and I've lived here ever since. I married a Leominster girl, so I moved down here.
So now, for 1942...
42.
Was that when you went into the military?
I went into the military. I got married in June, but I went into the military in October the 2nd.
Oh.
And I landed in Glasgow, Scotland. And then we got into all kind of boats and anything that. See, the ship was so big it couldn't land in a dock, so it stayed out in the waters, and we came ashore on the rowboats and anything that floated, you know. We emptied, well, we were over 15,000 troops on that Queen Elizabeth.
Wow.
A lot of, and the day I went across, Joe Louis was on there. He was the world champ boxer at the time. And there was Sugar Ray Robinson. Oh, we a bunch of you. We got into trucks and we drove right through England. And we were billeted, like the English say, right along the English Channel.
So now, where did you spend the majority of your time when you were over there?
Over there? Well, D-Day, D plus 19, I went to I landed in Normandy, and the American troops were only about 12 miles inland, and I went across in Patton's Third Army.
What sort of battles did you see?
I went through France, I went through Luxembourg, I went to Belgium, I came back to Luxembourg, then I went into Germany, and then we were heading right on they called it an Autobahn. It was a new highway. It was nothing but a highway, but they call it the Autobahn. And we're heading right for Berlin. And then the three countries involved, which was Russia, England, and France, and us. France was on the mount the hill. We were stopped, and for reasons we never knew, we were sent directly south, and I went to Regensburg, Austria. Then I went to Munich, oh, so many places. Anyways, when the war ended, I was in Ried, R-E-E-D, I think, Austria. That's when the war ended. So I made a tour of Europe a little bit.
Now, what sort of things did you see?
What did I see? I went into the concentration camps. I was in there. I saw these poor people. Oh, gosh. I pictured that, and that's not nice. The Germans were so bad. They were bad people. There were places where they had to do bulldozers, dig big holes. And then they had, I've got a book with pictures in. I gave it to my son. And it's pictures of Germans on horse-drawn wagons, and they were loaded with bodies. Now they would take these bodies and just throw them in that hole, and those that were very sick and they weren't eating anymore, they take them out of the buildings, still alive, throw them in the hole, then they bury them, you know. I saw the crematories. I saw a bunch of piles of ashes. But, oh God, if I could get my baby back. There was a lot of bad stuff. There was nothing that I could say was very pleasant, you know. There was nothing pleasant. I got scared many a times. I came home a nervous wreck. What would happen? I would pull guard duty, and you're supposed to walk a perimeter this way and this way, then come back and then another guy would go this way and this way. But I would station myself with my gun, with a shot in the gun, but I'd put it on lock, you know, and I'd listen. And actually, after you've been out in the dark long enough, you can actually see in the dark, you know. But anyways, if a breeze came and went through the trees, it would make a little noise. I was all over the place, you know. So I came home a nervous wreck. Oh my God.
And that hasn't changed any.
No, I'm still terrible.
Yeah.
My nerves, I get depressed.
Sorry.
It's been like that all my life.
As kids, my mother always taught us, if the telephone rang and it was for him, not to touch him to wake him up. We all learned to just yell from the door wherever he was that he had a phone call, but we weren't to touch him because he would wake up like ready to fight.
Wow.
Well, I'd go, that's the first thing came to me. I didn't think of doing it.
And you still
just
jump.
came. I'm still
yeah,
like that.
can't
I'll
be touched.
jump, you know. Oh, it was well, I take an awful lot of medication, and thanks to the VA, they take good care of me. The Veterans Administration, or Veterans, whatever they call themselves, they take good care of me. Very good care. But I take a lot of medication.
Well, it was probably about 25 years ago or something, he was finally diagnosed with PTSD. That's how long it took.
One of my first scare was, we're out on the edge of the woods, and I am copying German code, Morse code, and we have trucks with these boxes on the truck with radios. Was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're 7 men in the truck copying code, and all we did was copy German code. And then we had deciphers that we would take them. Well, we had a runner. He would take these messages, bring them to the deciphers, and they would decide what they're going to do. Are they going to shell them? Are they going to have the planes drop bombs on them? They made their decisions. And this one time, this one kid yelled, he said, "We're being strafed." Now, you know, you're copying code, you got earphones on, and we had one officer, not officer, a non-com, and he just yelled, and we jumped out of the trucks. You know, there was a door. We get there, and we jumped off the truck. I jumped under the truck. Vroom, the planes were going. Finally, I come to, and I'm looking up, and a gas tank right above my head. I learned my first lesson. What a stupid place to hide, under a gas tank. I never did that again. But this one time, I was the only French-speaking guy in my company. My company commander was a young man. I think he was 22 years old. And he was what I call a boozer. He loved his booze. And he didn't care to eat K-rations. Whenever he could, we would travel, and then the first sergeant would go and pick up a Jeep, and then he would pick me up, and then he'd pick up the company commander, and we would go to a farmhouse. And I would ask them if they would cook a chicken, we'll say, for the company commander. And then somebody's got to come back after, either the first sergeant, myself, or, you know, and they would cook him a meal. But he, from the kitchen, would bring bread, coffee, lard, all kinds of stuff, you know, for exchange. But the main thing he was after was Calvados, which is a moonshine. So I was getting him some, you know. Finally, I smartened up. I said, I would tell the people, just give him a little bit. I'll come back myself and get some, you know. But I wasn't a drinker. But I would get it, and I give it to my friends.
Mm.
Oh, I mean, anyways, this one time, we're out there going out and get some food for him. And we stopped, and my eyes were red like fire because all we were doing is driving on dirt roads, and my eyes were sand burned. You wouldn't believe. My eyes kept tearing, and we come by this house. So there's two nuns and a little girl in front of this house. So we stopped, and I start talking to them. And while talking to the nuns, now this one nun had a pair of very thin sunglasses. She gave them to me, and I thought I wouldn't take them. She says, please, you know. But my eyes were so sore, I took the sunglasses from her. The little girl says, you know, in French, Monsieur, they're a Bosch, they call the German Bosch. They're Bosch in a yard in the back. So now, the company commander grabbed a grenade. I think he took two of them. And he only had a pistol, where the first sergeant had a carbine, but I had a submachine gun. So he told me, he says, there was a driveway that going down to the barn, and it was a banking. So I went on a banking, facing the barn. The company went on the side like that, and he threw a grenade, and the door flew open with a white flag coming out. And the first sergeant was on this side, so we had him coming this way, and the officer with his pistol. Well, these people wanted to give up because they knew they were defeated, you know, because there was, I always said there was about 30 of them, because we had 3 truckloads of them. But some of them says that there was only 12. Well, I don't believe that, but anyways, whatever amount there were, we captured them. And the first guy I went after, I took his rifle. I've got it today. And we were right on the German border, and there's the Meuse River running by, and we're on this side of it. The Germans were on that side. And one of our boys copied a code where during the night the Germans were gathering and they were going to cross the river and attack us. And where we were very light on troops. They were mostly, that was at the time of the Belgium, come on. I know it so well. Battle of the Bulge. Alrighty. So it was about that same time. So they were lining up down around the Meuse River in Luxembourg. Now, during the night they're gathering, and one of our boys got the copy and sent it to G2, they called it. They deciphered this, and Patton got some of his infantry troops down there. They traveled all night, and they dug in, and as soon as these troops started to cross the river was red with blood. I mean, if it hadn't been for this guy copying this, we would have, I wouldn't be here today, number one. But it was a massacre because they were coming across on anything that would float, you know. And it wasn't a very big river, and it wasn't a very deep river. But they came floating across, and as they came, just mowed them down. That infantry, you gotta give it to them. Boy, these guys here, you can't praise an infantry boy enough. What they went through, it's unbelievable. Oh boy.
And how long did you serve in the Army?
3.5 years.
When you first got back, you know, what was that like? You know, coming back to see your wife.
I came back to my beautiful wife. Oh, she was a beautiful girl. She was. Oh, well, there's pictures of her. Where? Right here.
Rose's favorite unknown.
That right there. I'm 23 years old, and she had just turned 20. Oh, she was a sweetheart. The nicest. I mean, she was so easygoing, so lovable. Oh my God. I went right to work and started life all over again. So now the guys in my company would come up to me, and nobody knew me but by the name of Frenchie, because I was the only one that spoke French in France. And they were all after me. They wanted to know all about what was going on in France at the time. I got to Germany, I didn't know but 3 words. Eins, zwei, drei, 1, 2, 3. I left Germany and I spoke German fluently. I did. So you learn fast. I see a psychiatrist. I'm not crazy, but I see her. She has me blab shoot my mouth off, you know. We talk about anything and everything. And I went in for an appointment this one morning, and she says, you know, she says, Fern, well, they call me Fern. My name is Fernand. She says, I was thinking of you last night. And she says, I'm going to tell you about it right now. She says, did you ever hear of, what's the name of that?
Honor Flight.
Honor Flight
New England.
of New England. I says, no. Well, she says, would you be interested in going to Washington, D.C. and see all the monuments down there? And she says, it wouldn't cost you a penny. She says, the flight is free. I says, that would be nice. So now we start talking about the flight. Well, she says, now, she says, I've got the application, and the only ones that are entitled to go at this time, she says, are World War II veterans. And we starts off to head towards the terminal. Well, as we start going around this one corner, a bunch of firefighters all dressed up saluting us, you know. And we're waving at them, and it's pitch dark out. So now, as we went by the firefighters, then came the military, and they're all saluting us. And then after that were people waving a flag, you know, everyday people that just got up out of bed and wished us well, you know. Now we get at the terminal. Oh my God. Then they got to me a little bit, because I was in a wheelchair. And we get into the terminal, and the people that were in there, it's unbelievable. More firefighters, more military people. They had, was it the bikers?
The Harleys.
Harley bikers. They didn't salute us. They came over, every individual, shook all our hands, and thank you, you know, and oh my God. Here I am going to cry. And I'm a tough son of a gun.
Yeah.
But then we landed in Baltimore, Maryland. It starts all over again. Military saluting us. I mean, and then I think the Hollies were there too, weren't they?
Yeah, they drove, the motorcycles were our motorcade or whatever. You know.
That's right, they drove, and then
they escorted us.
We had state cops with their sirens going and the lights are going, and the 3 buses are following right all the way to Washington.
Real for you?
It was one of the most beautiful things I've seen in my life, but it took many, many years for it to be built. But they have a center, and I can't picture right now what it is. I'll have to look at the picture.
It's a fountain.
And on the left hand, facing this, on the left side, it's Europe. And maybe you can pick out the picture of the wall with the stars.
One side is Pacific, and the other side
one
is
side is Europe, the other side is Pacific. And there's a wall there with stars, and every star represents 100 veterans that were killed, like in Europe. She'll show it to you. And that there, it got me, you know. And some of the sayings that General Eisenhower said, there's a wall, and it's all inscribed on a wall. And then other people said something about the other things. I can't remember now.
No. Oh, it is.